question is, can you describe a typical day at work as the Executive Vice President of Silver Trust Media and Afro Global Television?
No 2 days are alike. So it depends on what we're doing on a particular day. Sometimes we're filming, we're producing, because as you saw, we have over 15 original programs that we produce. And then we have a drama series now. We've shot 6 episodes. We're kind of, in production sometimes. Sometimes we're kind of like in post-production. Post-production is after you filmed it, then you're editing and doing all the packaging and stuff. And then some days I'm approving shows, watching what has been produced to make sure, it's okay for broadcast. Sometimes we're working on the magazine. So it all depends on what we're working on. But since COVID hit, I've been working from home a lot, which has given me the opportunity to really, see my kids a bit more. But a typical day for me starts like around 5 a.m. I've actually been waking up at 5 a.m. right from when I was a kid, because my dad used to wake us up to pray at 5. And then I went to boarding school. We used to wake up at 5:30. So it just kind of became second nature. So I'll wake up, I would do my prayers, and then, then I'll start my day. I usually start my day very, very early, and depending on what we're working on, I will start my office day like around 9 or 10. And sometimes we're not even in the office, we're shooting on location, or we're going to events. So my days are very different. Each day, it just has a different thing.
Sounds like you have a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
You said that you have gotten an opportunity to work on several different productions. What has been the most memorable production that you have worked on?
I think it's a Mobella Palace, the drama series, because so the drama series, I'm the writer, director, I'm also co-producer. So, and it was something new for me, because even though I've been doing TV right from when I was a teenager, as I mentioned earlier, when I was in university, I think I must have been 18 or 19 when I started to be on TV and to produce. But I've never produced a drama or film. I produced for television, right? So it was a big, lofty, my husband and I co-created the Mobella Palace drama series, and I wrote, it was the first time I was writing a script. I had to learn how to use the writing software, and then it was new for me, and I didn't realize how challenging it was, because when you're writing a script for drama, even if somebody kind of sighed or looked away, all that has to be in the script. If somebody's walking in and something drops, a film script, for instance, can be like 100 and something pages, and everything has to be written. It's quite a daunting task, but I think the most rewarding time for me was when one day we're shooting, and I just looked at the actors and I'm like, oh my God, those are my words that they're saying, things I wrote, and it just gave me a certain kind of fulfillment and joy just to see those things that I was sitting down in the night writing, the actors actually bringing it to life. I think that was one of the things that I did that I thought was really amazing, and I'd never directed before. I know being a director, especially a female director, has its challenges, just like any woman in a leadership role, there are challenges, and I also had to go through some challenges trying to direct, but I learned a lot in the process. So I would say that this is one of the most challenging and the most rewarding thing. I haven't been able to kind of syndicate it yet, because it's in post-production right now. In fact, yesterday I just watched episode 5, and I was just kind of sending my comments to the editor. But I think it's something groundbreaking. I'm looking forward to having it on Netflix and Prime very soon. So it's interesting.
You definitely will be streaming when it comes on Netflix and Prime. And you touched on some challenges. So our next question is, what has been the biggest hardship that you've had to face during your career, and how did you overcome it?
I would say that it was when the recession hit in, I think it was 2008. Because that was the first recession that our business was experiencing. I know when there's a recession, the first thing that people cut is the advertising dollars, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a very difficult time. It was an international, worldwide, recession, and it was not an easy. Because I was also pregnant and just had a baby during at that point. We also just had our awards program, and we lost money. So we had lost a lot of money, and there was a recession, and things were really tough at that time. And I remember, saying to my husband that, we're both talented people. Apart from studying political science in Nigeria, when I came to Canada, I studied multimedia at Algonquin College right here in Ottawa. And I have skills. I can edit. I was a graphic designer, and I could, do web design and all kinds of things. I was a producer too, so I said we can just go get jobs at other places. And I think we'll be better off because things were so tough for the business. I remember my husband saying, let's just pray about it and see how we feel after that. And we did, and somehow I just felt strength for us to continue. And I remember the words that came to me was, when it's time, it takes no time. And I was like, what does this mean? And I just took it to mean that the time was coming when, it won't take time for us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. So we kept on with a vision. And I think one of the things that got me personally through, and this is the same thing that gets me through every challenge that I have, is the why. I always ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? What impact is it making? And once I can settle the why and it's strong enough, I'm in. And it doesn't matter if I lose. Like, when we did the awards and we lost money, I sat down with myself and I said, what impact did this event, have? And I remember we had young people from our crossover mentorship program at this event. And I remember some of the letters that some of those kids wrote to us to thank us for allowing them to come to the event for free and giving them tickets. Some of the kids, they were from the Jane and Finch area. The kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods. Some did not even have the right clothes to wear to the event, and we actually supported them to get the right, to go shopping. And I remember some of the letters from the kids, and it just made me feel that we didn't lose anything. Because if one kid was impacted by this event, seeing role models in the community, I thought this was great. So what we did during the recession, so it's okay to understand your why, but you have to take practical steps. Yeah. Because without action, there is no success. You have to act, you have to move, you have to do something. So we decided to sit down and have a forensic analysis of our operation, and we asked ourselves, what is making money? What is not making money? So we dropped the things that were not making money. For instance, we used to do wedding videos at some point in our business, wedding videos and photography. We decided that we're going to stop because we could do better with the publishing and broadcasting than this other parts of our business. We used to design business cards and whatever. We said we're not going to do that anymore because we wanted to focus on broadcasting and publishing and other aspects of our work, right? The other thing we asked ourselves is, who has budgets? Because it's the kind of business that we do, we survive on advertising and sell. We have to sell something to make money. It's kind of useless to sell to people that don't have a budget for what you're trying to sell. Mm-hmm. So we asked ourselves who have budgets, and we put down a list of organizations that had budgets. And one of the entity that came up top on the list was governments. Governments have money, they have budgets. So we came up with some groundbreaking ideas to solve certain problems that the government could fund. So we did something for the government of Ontario, and then we now packed our kids. We had 2 then to Ottawa, again trying to engage governments. Mm-hmm. So we started going from one embassy to the next, trying to pitch them the Discover magazine series to produce magazines for their countries. And surprisingly, we got a couple of no's, but we didn't give up. We just kept on going. We just got a hotel. And my baby was so small. We had a couple of friends. We're like, can we leave our baby here for a couple of hours? Yeah. And then we hit the embassies. And we got our first yes from the Kenyan High Commission. And then, before we knew it, we were meeting with the president of Nigeria to discuss this project. So, and then things just catapulted from there. In a recession, we hired a lot of people. And this is a company that we're about to give up. Mm-hmm. Just a few weeks prior, but look at us now. We're talking big money with governments. Yeah. So and this is a lesson that I like to share with young people. Don't give up. Don't give up. It may not be working, but ask yourself. And this is my philosophy in life. Before I give up, when I give up on something, I don't regret it. You know why? Before I gave up, I would have asked myself, what other options do I have? Is there something else I can do to make it work? There are times when I didn't succeed at things, but I was still happy because I gave it my all, my 120%. And when I look back, I'll be like, you know what? I couldn't have done better. Until you reach that point where you could look back and say, okay, I failed, but I could not have done better. Don't give up. Try the next thing. If that doesn't work, try another thing. Ask yourself, look, don't just put yourself in the box. Think outside the box. Like, we as a media organization, we have to ask yourself, what are my talents? What can I do? So we know how to design magazines, but as we're not selling. So now we started to do magazines for governments, because we analyzed the situation and saw that governments had budgets. So think wildly and creatively, and don't be afraid if it's not what is the in thing. It's not customary for a media organization like ours to go and be doing some of the things that we did during the recession, but desperate situations call for desperate actions, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a lesson that all of us can learn. Just the story of resilience in itself. When one thing doesn't work out, it's never worth it to just sit down and forget about it. There's always a different option. There's always a different type of way to fix your problem. So we have a vision of resilience right here. So we're gonna move on to our next question. Social media. Let's talk about the media. Social media changes every single day. There's always a new update or a new app. I think the newest app that's going around right now is Be Real. Yes. And then obviously we have TikTok now. How have you found adapting to changes in the way we are able to connect to audience through all these different various forms of new media, and especially connecting to young people through social media? How is Afro Global handling that?
Yeah, my generation is very interesting, because my generation was a generation that we grew up without internet. So we were here before the Mac computers came out, iPhones, but we're here now. So we're kind of like in between. We're not too old to adapt. At the same time, we know the old and the new. So it's a very interesting generation that I come from. But I'll say that social media has been a very great tool. There's no better time to do media than now, because previously, if you had content, you had to find a platform to run your content.
Yeah.
But right now, you can run your content without a platform. Without a platform, like, for instance, like a cable network, through social media. Social media has become the platform for creators who ordinarily would not have their voices heard. For instance, this morning, my daughter was telling me that one of her videos, I don't know if it's on Spotify, her content is it on TikTok or Spotify, has over 2 million views, and I was like, what? There's no better time to share ideas than now. But in terms of figuring out how to utilize it in the best way possible, is something that we're still learning. And right now we have a lot of young people in our team who are kind of running the social media and kind of keeping us current with things. But I think the social media is it's a good and bad tool, because I know that social media has also crippled a lot of young people, and it has caused a huge distraction and made it impossible for some young people to focus. And that's why I say to the young people, if you want to be extraordinary in today's world, focus is it. If you want to be ahead of your peers, if you want to do better, focus, because a lot of people lack focus. Even people my age, it's so difficult. There are times I have to call myself to order when it comes to social media, because it can be very distracting. So now I have, a policy. There's a time when I can go on social media. There's a time when I can't. I try not to touch my phone all the time, because it can become addictive. So I think it's a good tool overall, but it's also a tool that has helped to propagate a lot of hate, racism, sexism, and all kinds of things like that. But I think that it's also an opportunity for people that have positive messages and content to put it out, to make sure that all the positive messages, kind of are more than the negative messages, so that the world can kind of have the opportunity to consume, good media as well.
Yeah. And I think when you were talking about your daughter getting 2 million views, I remember a couple of days ago seeing a post, and it was like, we all have like TikTok, we all have Instagram or some type of social media, and it kind of goes over our head how many people we can actually reach. When you think about it, it's like you get 500 posts or 300 likes on your Instagram photo, and you think that's not a lot, but 300 people is like 2 of these rooms. You know what I mean? Your daughter that got 1 million views on her story, that's enough to fill up an entire stadium. So it's just really crazy to think about how many people you can reach with just a button. Back before we had these apps and back before we had such easy access to all these people, it was not more difficult, but I guess you could say a bit more difficult to reach that many people without such strategic, focused planning. But now people are getting famous just posting one video, and that catapults their career. I can think of 3 different artists right now who have gotten an entire career just off of one song taking off on TikTok.
Rude B.
Yeah.
I was on the red carpet with Rude B last week, and guess what? Guess who she was working with? On the red carpet was Tyler Perry.
Wow.
She did the theme song for Tyler Perry's new movie. It's on Netflix now. The Jazzman's music. Rude B from Canada, a high school student who posted a little bit of her IP on social media, and it went viral.
Yeah.
She is now working with Tyler Perry on the red carpet.
And there's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
And still keeping on the media topic, how do you see the media industry in general changing in the future?
The media industry is one of the industries that's, is going through a lot of transformation. There's been a lot of shaking and disruption, I would say, because of social media, of course, and Netflix and Amazon Prime and such platforms. Like for instance, our channel, we show 2 African movies every day. I remember when we just started, people were very excited about that. But now Netflix has, a whole roster of these African movies.
Yeah.
And so you can see there's a disruption right there. And I think that the future of media is not going to be, time-based, meaning you don't have to tune in every Tuesday at, 7 o'clock to watch This Is Us or, Grey's Anatomy or Mobella Palace. You choose to watch it when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, if you want to watch it on your phone, on your tablet, or on a TV screen. So that's the future of television, and it's app-based, so the users determine how they watch content. Previously, we, the broadcasters, determine when you watch it. If you don't watch this thing at 10 o'clock, on Sundays, you have to wait another week or whenever we repeat it, right? But that's all changed now.
Yeah.
And that's why even our channel, we're kind of right in the process of developing our own online platform because that's the future of television, of broadcasting. The industry is changing faster than we can, really even catch up with. But life in general, and that's why innovation is very important.
Yes.
We have to kind of you kind of know your vision. Don't change your vision, but you have to be ready to change how you get to your destination. Because without innovation, your vision can die. Right? Yeah.
Thank you. And I think we have time for one more question before we open it up to our audience as well. What advice would you give to your younger self if you had 5 minutes of conversation with them?
Oh, my younger self. I would say first message is don't be afraid. Everything is going to be okay. You'll figure it out. And secondly, be courageous, be bold. Be bold to say what you want, who you are, and what you have to give to the world. Don't be afraid. Because remember when I said I knew what I wanted to do was not to be a lawyer, but I didn't have the courage to even share this with my parents or even to fill the university form to say, okay, my first choice is going to be mass communications. I would have said to my younger self, be courageous. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask people to mentor you. Don't be afraid to, say, I don't know, please can you help me? Because I know sometimes we try to do it all on our own, but we have this whole community here ready to help us, right? And I would say to my younger self, do not be afraid to ask. And the other thing I would say to my younger self is be more grateful for the things that are working. You may not have, what other people have, but you have some things that are working for you. You're better off than some other people, and that's what you should focus on. And finally, I would say to my younger self, dream big, dream big, dream big, go for it. You can do it, whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. And there is nothing that can limit a human will that's on fire. And when you say, I would do this and mean it and really go after it, there's nothing impossible. I'm telling you, we've achieved things that are impossible. For people who migrated from Africa to Canada, we've done it. And all we do is dream. And once we have a dream and we put, timelines in place and goals, and nothing has stopped us. You're unstoppable as soon as you realize your power. It's what I would say to my younger self. You have the power and you are unstoppable.
Wow, thank you so much. Wow, I even need a second to take all that in. Thank you so much for that. Right now is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to ask any media-related questions, any questions related to Afro Global, or any questions you have for Patricia herself. So if anybody has a question, we could go now.
So Patricia, I love how you said that now you're trying to focus on standing out rather than blending in and trying to conform like when you were younger. So what's one thing that we could all do to stand out more in our lives?
First, you have to discover yourself. You have to, when you've discovered yourself, who am I? What do I love? What are my talents? What do I hate and why do I hate this? And the second thing, once you've discovered that, is to have the courage to be that. It may be very difficult because, as I said, there's that community, that foundation, that society, that voice, that thing that people are doing that you want to also do. You don't want to be odd, but you will be surprised to see that some of the people who have been bold enough to be odd in this world are the ones that have made monumental, sort of inventions and successes. People like Jeff Bezos, people like Elon Musk, people like, the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. What about the guy who started Airbnb, for instance? This guy, when he started, Airbnb, he went to a lot of banks and they said no to him. But they didn't give up. They kept on, going with the app. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar company. What about the guys that started Pinterest? At some point they had just 3,000, users, and things were not working for them. It took them about 10 years, and they sold for $11 billion because they stuck with it. So once you've discovered what, you want to do, have the conviction and the courage to pursue it. And once you do that, you see that the world will begin to reckon with you. Remember what I said earlier? Once you kind of, you're called a name, make room for yourself. When you make room for yourself, you will be known. Your name will not be known, because when you begin to do the things that are you, then your audience will begin to gravitate to you. We always think that we need money in order to pursue our ideas. But I say that, first of all, you need to have, a good idea, and then the money will be attracted to the idea. And the people that are supposed to help you, the people that are supposed to consume what you're selling, or to be impacted by what you're supposed to do, will come as soon as you own up, as soon as you have the courage to say, what, this is what I want to do, and I'm doing it. And once you're doing that, you see that it will attract the right people. Your audience will come. If you leave your place, you lose your audience. But if you stay in your place, in your lane, your audience will just be attracted and they will come.
Going back to what you were talking about now as well, in my case, I'm having a hard time to find my talents and find what I like. I find myself growing up, I was like, okay, I wanted to be this, but then I realized, I hated chemistry this, so I can't go in the medical field, I can't do it. What would be your tips in terms of being able to find something that you like? I don't know if that's a good enough question, if it's too vague, but hopefully, I'm having a hard time with this. And
my daughter, she's 18. She just started at Concordia University. She was a valedictorian, actually. She's straight A student. She's good in science and she's good in arts. So she doesn't know what she wants to do. She thought she wanted to do science, but like she's like, I don't think I'm a science person because I'm a people's person. And now she's like, I'm not too sure. So she's doing a Bachelor of Arts and Science to figure out what she really wants to do. And the first thing I just want to say is you're not alone. And the other day I saw that there are over 11,000 books on Amazon that are about people finding their talents and purpose. And those books, a lot of them are bestsellers. And that shows that you're not alone. There are many people that don't know what they want to do. So that's the first thing I want to say to you. And the second thing is, don't worry. I know when you're young, you become nervous because you want to be on the path that you want to, you're supposed to be right away. So you can begin to kind of grow. But there's something I realized in finding my own purpose, that everything that I was doing while I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, well, just now it's kind of like, leverage. It's now like, capital for what I'm doing now. So there's nothing lost. There's nothing lost in space. Every little thing that you've done or experienced adds up to that, moment when you begin to then do the thing that you're supposed to do. Remember that. But in trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, the first thing is listen to your inner man, your inner self. Listen to yourself. There are clues. These things always give you clues. Like when I was a kid, I was very inquisitive. So those were clues. I was always asking questions. I wanted to know. My dad was sick and tired of answering my questions. In school, I used to represent my school in a debating, clubs and stuff like that. So those were all clues. What do you love? What is it that you do that gives you so much joy that you can do it and lose the concept of time? What gives you some sort of passion? So think about those things. They may not be tangible things that will say career, but in analyzing those things, it could kind of lead you to a certain career. That are you a people's person, for instance, or you're reserved? If you're not a people's person, then your purpose may not quite be something that will expose you to, dealing with people. Take another step. Begin to write down those things. Begin to write down what you love. For instance, my daughter, she likes helping people. So I'm helping her to figure it out. She likes helping people. She makes friends instantly. Like, she's already organizing get-togethers at Concordia. She just got there in September. So I'm like, what? You're already organizing the get-together, but you just got to Concordia. So right away, I knew that she's, a people's person, right? So, and that suggests the kind of thing that she could do. And I'm beginning to say, this is some of the fields that, you kind of feel good at because you like people, you're a good communicator and stuff like that. And the other advice I would have, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, it's a time to explore. Do a lot of things. Get into different things. Join clubs. Go to events. Just explore, because it's in exploring. You can imagine if I wasn't hosting that writing place and moderating a play, maybe somebody would not have discovered me, and maybe I would not have found myself on this path. So do a lot of things. It could just be nothing, but in doing those things, you get to know yourself better. Interact with people. Ask your friends, how would you describe me? So ask your friends, your close friends that can give you honest opinion about you. What kind of person do you think I am? They will tell you, give you your qualities, write them down. And that feedback is very important in trying to figure out what you're on this earth to do. But don't worry, because see, what you want to do now may change. It may change. So like right now, there's certain things that I used to be crazy about when I was younger, but now that I'm like 50, I'm like, well, this doesn't give me a kick anymore. I have a new vision now, a new dream for myself. So that will keep evolving, but you see that your purpose doesn't change. I wrote, and see, try to write down a mission statement for your life. I did write one for myself a few years ago, but it keeps changing, but the main thing still just stays the same. Just try. It may not make sense. You may just write down based on what you think you are, your qualities and whatever. Like my mission statement is to cheer people as they journey towards their destinies and lift up those that fall along the way. So don't overthink it, but you have to make an effort to start to write down your qualities and what you love, what you hate, get feedback from your friends, and then when you begin to see some of the things that you think you like, begin to explore things in that area. And but don't worry too much. Just see, the best thing is to keep doing. See, there's a quote that I have that says, "There's no being without doing." So just keep doing. And in doing, you find your being, what you're here to do.
Like, how do you overcome the stress of talking in front of people? Because I see you're talking in a very structured way, in a very composed way. And I want to be like that, but I'm like right now I'm very stressed to ask this question, so I'd like to know your opinion on this.
Practice makes perfect, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And even the best orator, the best speakers, we always have butterflies in our stomach just before we get started. But I think it was Nelson Mandela that said that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's moving forward in spite of your fear. So even when you stand in front of people, and I've spoken in front of thousands of people, and sometimes you're kind of nervous, but it's just continuing in spite of your fear. And one day you see that you would have done so many things while afraid, and then the fear does not scare you anymore. I think that's where I am now. I've done so many things while afraid, and I've seen that the fear is not going to kill me, and I just keep going. So find opportunities to practice, to do the things that you love, and the other thing is to be authentic, because when you are in your own skin, it helps you to be your best. I'm not trying to speak like anyone. I'm not trying to be anyone. I'm not trying to impress. I'm just being honest with what I'm saying, who I am, or what I'm doing. That authenticity, that honesty helps. And not being afraid to be different. I don't have a little accent. There was a time that used to bother me. And then one day I said, to hell, I have an accent. I will never get over it. So world, and as soon as I said to myself, okay, I accept who I am. Accept who you are. I have an accent. I'm black. I'm in a white dominated country where we're a minority. I lived in Nigeria. It wasn't a problem to be black because everybody there is black, right? And then I came here and they're like, oh, it's a problem to be black. Am I really? What? But I accepted the fact that I'm black and it's okay. I was in Nigeria for 28 years of my life, or is it 27, before I came to Canada. So trying to change my tongue to sound Canadian is impossible. I said, okay, you know what? This is me. I have an accent. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I accepted it. You see that as soon as you accept yourself, you begin to get better too. So that's my advice for you. Practice a lot. Accept who you are. There's certain things that make us afraid. Like for me, was my accent. The fact that I'm black. Sometimes I'm in this place and everybody's white, and I'm like, oh my God. They're going to start seeing me differently. But once you are comfortable in your own skin, you will see that you thrive in places that you never used to thrive before. And you continue to get better and better. And then at some point, it's just going to become second nature.
Some good advice. Even like with me personally, when I have to speak in front of an audience, I kind of have to go blank in my mind and not think about how many people I'm about to speak to, and just do what I have to do.
Yeah.
You have to kind of tell yourself things sometimes to be able to get yourself through. But after you're done, you always feel so calm. So it's like, why was I even stressing before? Yeah. Does anybody else have any more questions?
I think your story is very inspiring, first of all. How did you navigate your relationship and starting a family while also pursuing your career in a new country?
Somebody noticed it's not easy.
No, I can't.
Yeah, because I remember many times I took my daughter to, my first daughter, she was always in the office. Maybe that's why she's so smart, because she watched, she saw a lot of things. She heard a lot of things, and we used to take her to work. It wasn't easy because, I didn't have a maternity leave. 4 times I had kids, no maternity leave, because as soon as I'm back home, I'm working on my computer. As soon as I can sit down, I'm back to work. So it wasn't easy to have 4 kids while running, the business. And if one of us was in it, would have been easier. But both of us, my husband and I, were in the business. But I think somebody gave me an advice once, which really helped me. And that's why I'm talking about mentorship, not being afraid to ask. And this lady, she said to me, some days you're going to feel like a bad mom because you feel like you didn't give your kids enough. And she said some days you may not be able to have a shower, and that's okay. And she said, some days you'll drop the ball, and it's okay. And that really helped me, because there were times I used to feel guilty. I'm like, I'm doing work, I'm supposed to, so I just figured out a way to balance. And she said to me, when you're with your kids, be with them 100%. And when you're, so that way the time that you have with them is quality. And I've taken that advice, and that's what has really helped me. But overall, it's been very, difficult, raising children while, we're building this business and stuff. But we kind of have learned. We got better, at being parenting and running the business at the same time. But I would say that we fail sometimes, and we won sometimes, and it's okay too, because I say that sometimes people that have the luxury of having a lot of time with their families do not appreciate it. But for us, because we have limited time, whenever we had the moments, there were actual moments, and that there's something to be said for that.
What would you say was your greatest accomplishment out of everything that you've done in your life? If you can even pinpoint it.
Apart from being a mom, well, being a mom is a great accomplishment. By the way, I wanted to become a nun. So I was in the nunnery for 3 years. Yeah, I was in the nunnery for 3 years. I was going to be a nun. I still have nun friends who send me messages on WhatsApp and everything because, we grew up together. But I wanted to be a nun, and then eventually I decided not to be a nun. And yeah, so being a mom is a great accomplishment. But in terms of my professional achievement, in our work, business, I would say it's launching a 24-hour TV channel. Because owning a 24-hour TV channel is a lot of pressure. Yeah. It's like feeding an elephant. As soon as you finish giving them food, you have to give them food again. It's like continuous every day, 2/7. It's something that requires a lot of commitment, and it takes a whole lot. And I think we had a dream. It was on our website for a long time. When we had just one show, Planet Africa on Omni.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm saying if you have a dream, write it down, speak it out. Like how I saw Oprah and I said, I want to do that one day, I spoke it out into the universe, right? And even when I wasn't trying to do that, it came to me. So share with your friends, write it down, what you want to do, and stuff like that. So we always used to have it on our website, and then one day, it wasn't an easy road to launch a 24-hour TV channel. Launching a channel is one thing, but getting it on Rogers, Bell, TELUS, and Acelink is so difficult. And not all the channels that launch go on cable. So it was a very difficult road, but I think when I look back on my life, I think that's one of the things that I'm really proud that we're able to achieve. And it all just shows that if you have a dream and you focus and you kind of, don't give up, you achieve it.
Not many people have a genuine interest in coming back and encouraging the youth or feeding knowledge to our potential leaders, future leaders. So to take the time out of your busy schedule, your very busy week, to come and give us some knowledge about your story and your company is extremely admirable. So with that, we'd all like to give you a big round of applause.